Hinchinbrook Island's about almost halfway between Cairns and Townsville in North Queensland. It's Australia's biggest mangrove swamp, and it's also an island that's 30 plus miles long and like peaks over 1,000 metres. So we get a bit of a wind shadow, and because of all those mangrove systems and mangrove swamps and flats, we get to fish pretty much all year round, and sure there's weather, but there's weather everywhere, so there's always something to do, always something to go fish, like go and fish some barras in skinny water or catch a queenfish or a GT out on the flat, and if the weather's right for it, well, go and chase a permit.
Hey bud, how you doing?
Yeah, good.
We're just rolling out of the house now. Whereabouts are you?
Oh, just crossing the Hurren.
Oh yeah, cool, okay, sweet.
Hey Kiwi, make sure you do the back of your legs first.
Gotcha.
My bag.
How do you like the Aussie sun?
Pretty good, mate. Pretty good. Getting a bit cooked up. Make sure you reapply as well. Really, really key.
Why fly fishing? A good friend of mine in town, Rolly Newton, he was probably the only guy that fly fished in town. And I was a bit of a tackle lad. I just think he wanted someone else to fly fish with.
Yeah, here he comes. Got him.
So got a fly rod, a shitty one, caught some fish on it. It was all downhill from there. I started guiding in '97, and then via a couple of mates started a company trying to get a group of us together, I suppose, with Australian Fly Fishing Outfitters. Saltwater fly had taken another step forward, I suppose, and a lot of the manufacturers were starting to make some more saltwater fly rods. There was probably only a handful of guys that made rods, and Joe Public had more access to better gear, and a lot more people were saltwater fly fishing. I guess when I first started fly fishing, you just found whatever you could, because in North Queensland there wasn't a whole lot available, that's for sure. And then a good friend and a guy that I did a lot of guiding with, Nat Bromhead, was a big Scott fan, and that was probably the start of the introduction to Scott. Famous Amos has been a good friend of mine for quite a while now, but it probably took some convincing for him to leave his fisheries research job to come guiding.
2001 moved up here. Fished a little bit of fly, fished a little bit of conventional, but then just fished fly from 2004 onwards, just pretty exclusively. There's GTs, queenfish. Probably today we saw a school of giant herring. We've seen barras on the beach, we've seen barras in the mangroves. stay in the fresh, fish jungle perch, fish sooty grunter, fish barramundi, fish tarpon. And it's a seasonal fishery and it sort of fits in with the flats fishery. So you can fish the flats all year or you can just, strong wind comes through and you can fish the fresh. So it's probably early and late season fishing those. And fishing hopper patterns, fishing dries for jungle perch and gurglers for sooties. And then for barras you fish small woolly buggers.
Action.
This is for famous, so you can slam it down fast. It's a bit of a secret, God's secret here. Carbohydrates and hydration all in one lunch. And over we go here, over we go here. Good healthy wrap, give it a bit of a shake, ready to go.
Scott, that's a good question. I had a client turn up that had, I'm not sure how he had them, but he had 2 S4S prototypes. And that was it for me. I think he had a 7 and a 10. I guess we didn't know they were S4S at the time, but they had prototype written on it. I think they were just, I don't know, sweet's an easy word to use, but they're so easy to cast compared to a lot of rods. And especially for me, if I'm just fishing personally, I do like still just slinging around the mangroves, like a 7 or an 8. I usually use an 8. But, you know, side fishing barramundi and that sort of thing. There's a couple of the guys, like Famous and Micah, that are better casters than me. They like those 8s and the 8'4". But I kind of stick to the 8'10s and 9'. It'd be really nice to get a hold of the 2-piece. I'm a bit old school. I do like 2-piece rods.
It would have been probably around that 2006 sort of time. And so the E2 was the first one that I was fishing. And then, because I grew up fishing salt, and probably exclusively salt, 2007, I probably caught my first trout on a fly rod. And at that stage, had an interesting glass. It appealed to me a little bit, that slower action of rod. Everybody else at that time was producing faster and faster rods. And so at that period, they were closing out the old F-series, the Fibre Touch. And so I was able to pick up one of those, 7'6" 4-weight. And so I've fished a lot with that. Fish up here in the tropics. I've fished Atlantic salmon, trout in Tassie. Yeah, and it just fit, like the feel of that rod, and then everybody else piled on with class. It's a good thing to happen because rods can only get so fast.
No, not really. It was moving pretty good.
You had a look? Which one was it?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
We saw a big Jeep.
We'll go with a look.
We saw a nice Jeep.
Oh, chase
yeah.
bait fish.
Yeah, that's talking convincing.
Who wants the sanger? Let's leave that, mate.
What's it like to catch a permit? I haven't caught one.
You've hooked one. What's it like to lose one?
Permit fishing, well that's, I guess early days, the main reason permit fishing probably took so long to gear up in Oz was because people thought they were impossible to catch and they didn't want to spend the time. So it really took a few a few clients that were keen enough to spend hours and hours out there looking for, finding and casting to these things. And then those guys caught a few, then the next guy decided he'd spend some time, and it kind of snowballed from there. It's similar in a lot of ways internationally now, I guess, because so many places have popped up, but it's still different. You have to adapt flies and techniques to your own fish, yeah. But it was, you know, through reading a few articles, etc., maybe early days, you know, you picked up a few things that definitely helped you along your way from, you know, guys in those saltwater fly mags from the US.
Yeah, I had a period where that's all I chased for about 12 months when I came back from Canada. Just chased permit and caught them, probably 2008. Just caught permit, went away, did it by myself, just worked out where to fish. These days it's sort of a bit more information out there about them and a bit more of a game plan about how to chase them and what flies and lines and stuff. And since catching them, it wasn't something that stuck, so I caught them and moved on. But yeah, it's really exciting to catch one and sort of to tick that species off and to, yeah, just have that experience of sort of having one tip on your fly, eat it and come tight.
Pretty excited to lose one.